All right. Hello everyone. This is sort of an in-depth guide into essentially the concept that I put out a couple of days ago for the PWM toggles or pulse width modulation toggles. Um, I think basically directly after that video, Cannabutter basically had a bit of a deep dive into this concept, and we had a look at a bunch of different clock configurations, and I think Sam Suick also hopped in and did a couple of the filters. So now that I guess the experimentation phase is over, and I think it's going to be actually quite a viable way of cannoning. I sort of wanted to hop in and do a deep dive and essentially make as much of it as I can public knowledge, so people can start to integrate this into their cannons. So I'll start with a brief rundown of what this sort of concept is. So you can see there's a bunch of different clocks here going, and they've got like a bunch of different pulse lengths. Basically, this concept is relying on the actual pulse length that you send through your clock to enable and disable certain toggles throughout the cannon using a set of filters. So let's say we have like a condition that we want on like the first redstone tick of your repeater. So in this case here, this is this one or this one. This is our I'll just use this one here. This is our toggle repeater. So first redstone tick there, we can say that we want backstack off that. And then let's say we want like OSRB and nuke off the second tick. And then we want, I don't know, backstack AP off the third tick. And then something like, I don't know, something random on the fourth tick, like AP and nuke, whatever. Anyway, point is, that allows you to basically run all the toggles through your main line of the cannon, which eliminates the need for like the messy sticky piston wiring. And it will also allow you to basically change multiple toggles simultaneously as well. So it's a bit of a mind fuck to get started with this sort of stuff. But like the clock that I initially showed off would have an issue basically where if you like fire the cannon through on the first configuration and then you swap the configuration over to the second configuration, which is say like 4 redstone ticks, you're going to add another 3 redstone ticks because you're pulsing the cannon initially on say like um, one redstone tick, and then because you're running it through a 4 tick repeater, the next shot's actually going to come in like 3 redstone ticks later. So you're going to get all sorts of funky timings with your cannons. So half this plot here is experimenting with different different clock setups, so that the actual starting time always remains constant, but the end time is what changes. So I think this one's a fully functional one. So if I put a node there and then I did say the last redstone repeater there, and I turn the clock on, I think this is a 1 second clock. Yeah, so this is a 1 second clock. You can see it's 12, 22, 32, 42, 52, 62, 72. All redstone ticks. So it all remains the same. And basically the trick was, in order to like toggle this successfully, you need to be able to use this repeater without changing that fundamental start timing. You're constantly changing the actual length of the pulse, but you're never changing that initial time. So you can see it's still all ending in 2 there. So this one's a fully functional clock. I'll start posting like schems and stuff for all this stuff eventually. But for now, I just wanted to do like a full breakdown of the concept. So now we've got our clock timings. So what can we do with that? So over on this side here, we have a bunch of filters. So some of these are very, very simple. Like for example, this one, that's 2, 3, 4. So that won't let a 1 redstone tick pulse through, but it'll let 2, 3, and 4 through. So if you don't want AP on your first instance, but you want it on all following instances, that will do 2, 3, 4. I think this one as well. Is this 2, 3, 4? Yeah. So this is Canabutter's plot here. He's come up with most of these filters. So credit to him for a bunch of these. I came up with like 1 or 2 for demonstration purposes, then he and like Samsung basically belted out a bunch of these different filters. So these are all 4 resident tick filters here. Yeah. So any one of these, 1 doesn't work, 2 doesn't work, 3 doesn't work, and then it only lets the 4th through. So like I think everything basically in this line is like a 4 filter. This is a 1. Yeah, so anything longer than 1 doesn't get let through. So it could be something with regards to your backstack or whatever. But anyway, so there's all these different filters. All of them have different timings. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. The middle ones are harder. So it's really, really quite hard to isolate that sort of tick in the middle. So it's very, very hard to do 2, 4. So the issue then comes into basically you need to plan your cannon around these toggles. So it's going to be borderline impossible to retrofit cannons with these toggles. But if you do like a fresh build of a cannon and you basically run through all the wiring necessary to implement all of these toggles, then it should be a very, very clean cannon and it should be very, very quick to build and very, very fast to toggle between modes. So I guess that's the biggest downside of this concept is you can't retrofit it and you need to know basically or need to have schematics of all these different filters here. However, with all that being said, you can easily keep it simple and just use like 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, and 4. And basically, as you step through the modes, you can enable and disable more stuff. So like, if you want 1 backstack, you have everything basically disabled for a backstack except essentially your 1 rev and like your slide bust. Now 2, 3, 4, you can have AP, and basically on 2 that can be your AP backstack. And then say like on 3, 4, you can have OSRB. And then you've got like AP and OSRB on 3. And then you can like put a nuke on 4. So if you don't want a nuke, but you still want OSRB, you can do that. And if you want a nuke and OSRB, then you just switch it over to the 4th configuration. And yeah, that will basically allow you to have a bunch of 4 pre-configured modes built into your actual clock. So I'll sort of like put all this together now and sort of demonstrate where all this is going and like sort of some of the difficulties around it. The first, yeah, so I'll sort of get into the wiring rules. Basically, with your raw input signal, you can only use 1 redstone tick repeaters. So in a setup like this, if you have toggles down the line, so no matter where you put the toggle, or the filter, I should say, it always needs to be the same. So let's say we have like something we want to toggle there, something we want to toggle there, and then let's say like say this doesn't have to be toggled, like this is a power, so let's get some red wool. This is a power here, and then you want to toggle something over here as well. This all has to be 1 redstone tick repeaters going up to that toggle. So that's the first downside. So it essentially needs to be that. Now, there are definitely different things you can do here instead. So like if you can essentially split up the pulse. So anything that's not going to something that's toggled is not pulse sensitive. So say if you want to pulse this power here, you can essentially just run a 4 tick repeater into it. And that's always going to activate on that 4 ticks, no matter the pulse length. That's okay. For any of these green guys, anything like that's fine. And also after the filter as well, you can do any sort of delay. It's just between the clock and your filter, it all has to be 1 redstone tick to preserve that delay. Can't have observers, can't be modifying the pulse length or anything. It just needs to be 1 redstone tick repeaters. And I guess so from that point is I will now demonstrate what a couple of different clocks look like. So I'm going to do something like the standard 2, 3, 4 initially here. So the easiest way to do like this 2, 3, 4 toggle is something like that. And that's all it is. So a comparator should be, let's do it over here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. All you need is a comparator. And let's have a look for something 3, 4 now. 3, 4 I think is very, very easy as well. Let's have a look, find one we like. This one here. Let's do that. So what's that? 3 redstone tick repeater, comparator. Hi. Where's my thing there? So 3 redstone tick, repeater, and then uh, 5 pins. Sorry. Um, so it was something like this, wasn't it? And then like oh, I'm an idiot. That should be right there. And now this is your 2, 3, 4 toggle. And let's say we want a 4 toggle as well. So we need to go to the library here. 3, 4, 3. Come on, surely you've got a 4, 2 repeater toggle here somewhere. This looks like 3. Oh, that's 3, 4. It's also 3, 4. Where's your 4s? 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 4. Okay, here we go. And then that's just the two redstone tick repeater into that. Okay, that makes sense. And then what we'll do is what was it? It was like that 2 redstone tick repeater going in. And then it was a sticky piston, and then a target block. Is that it? I think that was it. 1, 2. Okay, so let's get some lamps now, and I'll sort of show you what this now looks like. So lamp, boom, like that, and then I'll put one here as well. So we've got our, say, like our main power there, that's always going to be pulsed, and then we're feeding this one redstone tick signal through all these bits. You can see none of the toggle lamps are lighting up because they're all running through these filters. The only thing that's lighting up is our power here. So let's change the configuration. Is that even the right toggle to do it on? I think so. Anyway, let's change the configuration to say 2 redstone ticks. That was actually the wrong one, wasn't it? Yeah, you cheeky dog. Where was the actual correct toggle that I was using? Oh god. Technical difficulties, eh? This one? Nah, that one's a bit iffy. I swear it was this one. Just losing my mind. That one doesn't work. Well, this is embarrassing, isn't it? Well, this one isn't perfect, but I'll just copy this over. Anyway, that one's got some weird edge cases, but honestly, just for demonstrative purposes, I'm happy with it. We still need to jump through and just test like a bunch of edge cases and like toggling while the cannon's firing and whatever with these, but for now, this is fine. I'm just going to run this line all the way over. Boop. So yeah, as long as you keep those 1 redstone tick pulse repeaters in use, you can run over, and you can see there we go. So our power's working again there. So first case, what we wanted was 2. So if we say like this is just backpack at the moment, backstack, we want say our second mode to be AP backstack. So all we need to do, toggle repeater, and now AP's firing as well. Third mode, say that's OSRB connected to that line there. You just chuck in another repeater or another tick there. Now OSRB is working as well. So you've got AP, you got your OSRB, and that one's still not firing. So let's say we want to chuck our nuke in now. So that's our 4 redstone tick repeater. And now our nuke's on as well. And you can just freely toggle between this repeater. Now it's just the power. Easy as that. So all it is just toggling that single repeater to get a bunch of presets for your cannon. So I guess next is I'll just show you like what actually happens when you use a non-redstone to or a non-one redstone tick repeater feeding into one of these filters. So I put that there. You can see it actually breaks that first filter there. And if you put 3 redstone ticks, now it breaks 2 of the filters there. So it does always need to be 1 redstone tick. You can see we've still got 1 redstone tick there. So those 2 shouldn't be activating, but because we've used a non-one redstone tick repeater there, that has actually just broken those 2 filters. So another thing you can't use is observers. You can't use pistons. Nah, oh, you can't use like the game ticked piston setup um, on like the bit before the toggles. You can, however, use it after the toggles. So if you want something like this, um, like there, and then you can do that, and that will work fine with like that 4 redstone tick repeater there, and then we switch the mode over to 4. Come on, there it goes. So that still works fine there. So basically, I guess the big rule of thumb is everything leading into a filter has to be a 1 redstone tick repeater or like a single piston with a redstone block. I think that also works. You can't have 2 because, of course, like they retract simultaneously, and that will mess up your pulse length. So everything that runs through a filter always has to be a redstone tick repeater. However, everything after your filter can be any sort of timing. So after this comparator here, you can put a 4 redstone tick repeater. That's always going to power off the comparator, and that's still not going to power off that. See? So basically anything leading into a filter always has to be a 1 redstone tick repeater. Anything after a filter or in a part of a cannon that is not like connected to a filter um, can be whatever timing you want. But as long as there is a filter um, between your clock and between your clock and the filter, that all has to be 1 redstone tick repeaters. So that's sort of what I mean by like you can't retroactively add this um, into cannons because you're going to need to change basically the entire way you wire your cannon. Um, Another thing that I did also want to say as well is you can put essentially all these filters on the bottom layer of your cannon. If you have like most people do like a, let's see if I can just find one of Peanut Butter's cannons. You have any cannons here, mate? No? What I'll do is I'll just set home canner, and then we'll go to Anderson, and then we'll go to home toots, home toots. I'll show you why it's so retroactive. Why it's so hard to retroactively add this into a cannon. This guy here, 2 second 384, missing half the cannon, I guess. Up here, 2 second 384. Yes. Okay, so let's have a look at this cannon here. It doesn't actually look too bad for it. Hmm. Yeah, okay. Except for this bit here. So this is our um nuke here. So our nuke and our I don't know what the fuck that is, to be honest. Might be Reesman. Um anyway, so our nuke here, we cannot add in the filter. Now, is that everything here off a quick pause? Yeah, it is. So if we want to toggle our nuke on this cannon here, we would need to rewire it. I believe if we do something like this, this is sufficient. And then we do a comparator here, and then you can do like a 2 redstone tick, or no, you can't do a 2 redstone tick repeater. You need to do something like a sticky piston and an observer, and then you can like feed it into, actually this works. So if you do something like this, that will work there. Another thing you need to keep in mind is you can't actually feed that 4 redstone tick pulse into this cannon anyway, because anything over a 3 redstone tick pulse here will cause this entire setup to double pulse here. So you really need to build your cannon and like plan your cannon around this concept, rather than retroactively adding it in. Um, I suspect it's going to take like a lot of practice to get it going properly. But once it does, and you can like basically wire everything cleanly off that central web of toggles, I think you're going to get some really, really good looking cannons out of it. Anyway, we'll just jump back over to Cannon Brothers plot, Zircon. Now, I plan basically what I'm going to do is in my Discord, I'm going to basically set up a library of all these filters and clocks and that sort of thing. And basically, as if Canna Butters still invested in this concept, if other people are still invested in this concept, we can sort of work together to create filters for the really weird edge cases. However, for everything that's here at the moment, you can still build very, very viable cannons just using essentially like this setup here. But this is going to allow you to build nice cannons already utilizing that toggle. So we've sort of got everything we need to get a start, but it's going to have to be once you start really digging into it and get some practice with it. I think this could potentially be like the future of like toggles and actually main cannon wiring. So yeah, it's a bit of a long, bit of a ranty video, but I did want to just get the concept out there, so some people can have a look at it, and give me some of your ideas, So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. I can almost guarantee you learned something new, and I'll catch you in the next video.